welcome to season 2 of On the Spot, where we are back on your TV screen with amazing, inspiring, and life-changing conversations in and out of Sierra Leone. Well, thank you for all the amazing love and support you've shown myself and the entire On the Spot team. 2019 was an incredible year with you. And 2020 promises to be even greater as we promise you more engaging content. On this note, I would like to wish you a happy and prosperous year 2020. It is so exciting starting this year with you, especially with our first episode for the season. Tonight, it's all about the boss lady. My guest owns and manages a number of businesses, one of which many will say is not for women. She's the CEO and founder for Business Services International, Pinnacle Sierra Leone Limited, and managing partner at Masada Waste Management Joint Venture. Well, with over 20 years of experience as a business executive both in the United States and here in Sierra Leone, she is a change agent working to support private sector development. She's a chartered marketer from the London School of Business and Finance and holds a Bachelor's of Arts degree in International Business and Finance from the San Diego State University. She's also the country manager for Sierra Leone on the Africa Clean Energy Initiative with Kofi. But above all this, she is an amazing mother to 2 beautiful girls. I know, that's a lot of title for one person. She is the amazing Aminata Dumbuya, and I've caught up with her here in her office. Hello!
Hi, good to see you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show and as well letting us have your beautiful spot as our location.
It is my pleasure, and I'm so looking forward to the conversation today.
Same here as well. I cannot imagine what's going to look like. So yeah, let's get started, I guess.
Domestic revenue mobilization is a key instrument for the government of Sierra Leone in reducing poverty, increasing financial independence, achieving middle income status, and charting the path for new directions. From supporting the free quality education, good roads, healthcare, electricity, and more.
Domestic revenue mobilization is very critical when it comes to national development.
Through the Asikoda World, we have developed beautiful management tools. We have also developed systems in which it will bring transparency and help to the importer, to the broker.
iTax is a platform for all your domestic taxes. The electronic cash register system is the game changer.
Let's support government by paying our taxes. For more information, visit the nearest NRA office or log on to our website www.nra.gov.sl.
Setting up a business can be a headache, finding office space, buying furniture, printers and photocopiers, but if you're not ready for all that, BSI can help. BSI provides furnished and serviced office spaces for the short or medium term, whether it's for a day meeting, a conference or an immediate office rental for a few months. There are no long-term cost commitments and the offices are fully equipped with all your office needs. Or we can simply provide you with a prestigious business address thanks to one of our virtual offices. Find out more about BSI, your office away from the office. Go to bsisl.com or call 076 242 328.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Abu. I am calling for your rental tax payment.
Oh my goodness.
Hello? This is a call from the...
Your colleague is on the other line. Can you just please hold?
You're not a landlord or property agent. You don't hear about rental income tax. As property owner or agent where they collect rent, the law say you for pay tax and you tax identification number where they call team you they use for pay am.
Yes, me fumble them. The law say without this tax identification number, you not go able to pay your tax. And if you not pay your tax, the law go bet you tranga one. Welcome, sir. Please sit.
Thank you.
We don't make them easy for you now. The law say, since you the collect rent we pass 7.2 million leones, you for come to NIA and pay your rental tax just after we your tenants don't pay you done.
So no more calls from everywhere, eh?
You go just get one SMS or one phone call. We go remind you, sir.
Thank you very much.
For no more, go to any NIA office near you or visit www.nia.gov.sl.
Remember, paying taxes is required by law.
Once again, thank you so much for joining me here on the show. Well, before we start talking about Aminata today, let's backtrack. Because I, a number of my guests have a fair idea on who you are based on my intro. But let's talk about childhood and how you grew up, where you grew up, and just to understand how you've gotten to where you are today.
An amazing journey. So I was born in Port Local, and was there for a brief stint of my childhood. Was there till the age of 7. Grew up with my grandparents because my mom left early on to go to Italy to look for greener pastures. And then at the age of 7, my grandparents were getting too old, sent my sister and I to Kono, where I then went to primary school and just did first year secondary school. And my mother had then settled in the United States and sent for my sister and I to join her. So in fact, my first recollection of ever coming to Freetown was at that time when I came to get my visa to go to America. So prior to that, proper upline girl from Port Loco to Kono and then straight to California. So it was California now that I, reunited with my mother and my stepdad, and the family, grew from there.
So how was that for you? Especially, you didn't stay in Freetown, and just right from upline straight to the United States.
Right.
What was it like for you? How were you able to adjust? That sort of culture shock.
Yeah. Again, I guess let me backtrack to say when I was actually in Kono, our family we were a humble family. So the kids had to support, the family, the household to make sure that we're able to take care of ourselves. So as a result, every day after school, my auntie would package popcorn, peppermint, fried plantains where I would go and sell. And in fact, I'd like to say now, looking back at that experience, that's how I honed my sales skills. Because I remember, just after school, taking my market there and then coming back within like 30 minutes, 1 hour, I've sold everything. Right. So when we were now in America, obviously it was a culture shock. Right. I mean, comparing Kono or Port Loco to California, it was a culture shock. But thankfully, one thing that I credit America for doing is with television, you're able to quickly acclimatize, right? So you're watching television, you're seeing content, and you can actually start. Sometimes people start by forging the accent. Sometimes you kind of learn about American culture through television. So the assimilation to that culture took a bit of time. There were a lot of challenges, especially, being the fact that you don't speak proper English, and then kids can be very cruel, right? They call you African booty scratcher, all these names, and you're having to fight back. I remember there was an incident where, they called me monkey or whatever, and I remember coming home and crying and telling my mom. And my mom was like, she used the N-word, go back and call them this. Let them know you're from, you're a queen and all of that. So, it kind of taught you to stand up for yourself, because now you're dealing with kids that when kids see people that are different, they find a way to attack. So you need to build a resolve and stand your ground.
So you got there at a very young age, and then you got into university. Take us through, because you've studied quite a few things.
Yes.
Some would say some of them slightly unrelated, but what really informed you reading marketing, and then there's that sort of international business. How did that come about for you?
Again, my major in university was international business, and I thought, why not business? Very, very early on, I was already in the sales kind of thing anyway, but it was challenging to make that decision, because in the Sierra Leonean community in San Jose, California, where I grew up, all the women, or most of the people we look up to, were in the nursing field. So my mother at that time, being the first to go to university for my family, my mom thought the best route for me was to do nursing. Now, for the life of me, I cannot stand blood, right? So it was a battle telling my mom and standing up to my parents that that's not the path that I wanted to take, that I want to be a businesswoman. And also because I was really passionate about coming back to Africa and also traveling. I found out that you could do negocios internacional or international business, and that's what I decided to study. And I said that in Spanish because that's the language, actually, when I went to university. So I did business as the major and Africa as a geography, but the language at the time that I had to do was Spanish because at the university, French was not an option. So, I studied a bit of Spanish to help me with my internationality. After that, I went straight into sales. I worked for Silicon Valley. I worked for an IT company, did that. And then in the midst of all of that, I had my first child just after university. So that was a bit of a shift in terms of my plans, what I'd sought out to do. So I diverted and took a different path. And my daughter now is 19 years old.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
Beautiful girl. Not a girl, a beautiful young woman that you're super proud of. But at that point in time, it must have been quite demanding, quite hectic. Yes. Just, out of university, yes. You've got a job and you've got a baby. How were you able to handle all three together?
It was the unconventional route because that's not what my family had planned out for me, right? Out of wedlock, having a child. And so those challenges in and of itself were there. But I knew that I had a purpose and I had a vision for my life. So that wasn't, as much as it was a challenge, it wasn't a showstopper. I was going to continue on my path. So I had to build a resolve and dig deep. Right, so the challenges were there, but I dug through it.
Now you had a really good job,
Mm-hmm.
And you were literally climbing the ladder, the corporate ladder.
Yes.
But somehow you made your way back to Sierra Leone.
Yes.
You made your way back to Freetown. What made you decide you were going to pack up and come back home and leave an amazing job with a great salary?
Right. My navel was planted here. This was home. So when I had left in '89, the first time I came back after was 2002. And in fact, I came for a friend's wedding. It was just impromptu. And when I came, I saw the devastating effects that the war had. I mean, at that time, you'd walk around Lumley Beach and people were still on bandages. And I was so moved, I was so touched by that when I went back I came back in 2003 and then started some kind of foundation. I just knew I needed to do something. So I started something called Malika Sisters, but that still wasn't enough. And I decided 2004, I was moving back home. My family thought I was crazy. At that time, my daughter was 3.5, almost 4. I said, nope, I know I need to get back home. I know my purpose will only be, fully manifested if I'm back in Sierra Leone doing what I'm supposed to do. So I came. Things were challenging when I came in December 2004. I remember working for, in fact, I worked for ABC TV at the time. I don't know if you remember, I was their marketing head again. And I thought television can be very, very socially impactful. If you put the right content out, you can inspire a generation. So that's why I went into that. But unfortunately, the proprietor at the time didn't have the same vision and it wasn't sustainable. And then I looked for something within corporate Sierra Leone. I did that, but still I didn't feel like I was fulfilled. So I decided to go to the UK to study. So I went to the London School of Business and Finance and got my chartered marketing status. And then came back in 2007 proper.
Okay, 2007 was when you came back.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to hold you there. This is On The Spot. More to come from my guest, Aminata Dumbuya. Don't go anywhere.
Domestic revenue mobilization is a key instrument for the government of Sierra Leone in reducing poverty, increasing financial independence, achieving middle income status, and charting the path for new directions. From supporting the free quality education, good roads, healthcare, electricity, and more.
Domestic revenue mobilization is very critical when it comes to national development.
Through the Asikoda World, we have developed beautiful management tools. We have also developed systems in which it will bring transparency and help to the importer, to the broker.
iTax is a platform for all your domestic taxes. The electronic cash register system is the game changer.
Let's support government by paying our taxes. For more information, visit the nearest NRA office or log on to our website www.nra.gov.sl.
Setting up a business can be a headache, finding office space, buying furniture, printers and photocopiers, but if you're not ready for all that, BSI can help. BSI provides furnished and serviced office spaces for the short or medium term, whether it's for a day meeting, a conference or an immediate office rental for a few months. There are no long-term cost commitments and the offices are fully equipped with all your office needs. Or we can simply provide you with a prestigious business address thanks to one of our virtual offices. Find out more about BSI, your office away from the office. Go to bsisl.com or call 076 242 328.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Abu. I am calling for your rental tax payment.
Oh my goodness.
Hello? This is a call from the...
Your colleague is on the other line. Can you just please hold?
You know a landlord or property agent? You don't hear about rental income tax? As property owner or agent where they collect rent, the law say you for pay tax and you tax identification number where they call team you they use for pay am.
Yes, me fumble them. The law say without this tax identification number, you no go able pay your tax. And if you not pay your tax, the law go bet you tranga one. Welcome, sir. Please sit.
Thank you.
We don't make them easy for you now. The law say, since you the collect rent we pass 7.2 million leons, you for come to NIA and pay your rental tax just after where your tenants don't pay you done.
So no more calls from everywhere.
You go just get one SMS or one phone call. We go remind you, sir.
Thank you very much.
For no more, go to any NIA office near you or visit www.nia.gov.sl.
Remember, paying taxes is required by law.
Welcome back to On the Spot. I have my guest here who wears many hats, by the way. She goes by the name Aminata Dumbuya. All right, so we, basically went on a break and you were just explaining or letting us know, how it was working, how you started working in Sierra Leone with ABC and then you moved on, or you moved back. You moved to the UK to, further your education, and that's when you went to study marketing. So take us through on that one.
The drive really to go back and dip in my ties with business, but especially in the marketing side, was when I was here working for ABC TV and I think IPTEL at the time. I felt like there was a gap, and that people weren't really marketing their companies or their brands properly. So I knew that, okay, if I go and really fine tune that skill set, that's a service that I can properly deliver. Again, that was a wish. I went, got the degree, came back, couldn't really find the right launch pad. So I went and worked for Standard Chartered Bank. I was head of financial institutions, spent just under a year there. But whilst I was there, I was also figuring out a way to set up Pinnacle. So Pinnacle Marketing company was born, out of me being at Standard Chartered, and fortunately, the first contract we were able to get was rebranding Sierra back then. So it was a big deal. Pinnacle rebranded Sierra, and then a few months later, Sierra decided to outsource all of its marketing to Pinnacle. So that right there gave birth to my entrepreneurial drive, right? So I went from starting Pinnacle, and a few years later, I started BSI. And BSI is Business Services International. Again, that came out of just feeling my environment and understanding what was lacking. I used to deal with investors coming in country, and you find that they spent most of their time at restaurants discussing very confidential business matters, and people are eavesdropping. So I thought to myself, what if I can provide a place, serviced offices, where people can just, lease out something for a day, a month, quarter, however long that they need to feel comfortable to now get their full office space. I think there's a market for it. So in 2011, BSI was born. Our main office used to be on Pedemba Road. We've seen clients like IBM, Seawright Mining, C Corp, even ADAX did their contract negotiations at BSI. So we've seen a plethora of, laid out international companies come through.
Speaking of BSI, how does this sort of fit into, baby businesses, if I would use that word, or budding businesses, or entrepreneurs who really can't afford to go find a space, pay for a space. We all know usually rent is usually asked for like a year or two, and in some places 3 years up front. So how does BSI sort of support startups? How?
Initially, like I mentioned, the goal was to work with international companies coming in, helping them to understand the lay of the land. But as the years went on, realized that there's actually a niche as well to work with local entrepreneurs, right? Because if you're a local entrepreneur, you're not going to be able to dish out $10,000 to $15,000 a year to get an office and then furnish it, et cetera, et cetera. Come to BSI and you can have a shared workspace, right? So I like to position BSI as an ecosystem builder. So for young budding entrepreneurs within Sierra Leone that are just coming up, you can come and get a hot desk, right? And with that hot desk, you have everything, all the amenities that you would have, having your own office are provided for you anyway, plus some. So we do reach out to both of those audiences, the international business and the local entrepreneurs, and just, giving them that platform to grow their businesses in Sierra Leone.
As a woman living and owning a business in Sierra Leone, how easy or how difficult can it be?
As I sit here, BSI from 2011, that's 9 years on, right? Masada, it's 7 years on. And we're gainfully still employing like a substantial amount of people. So, and it's a woman right at the hem of those affairs, right? So our society doesn't give a lot of credit to women entrepreneurs, but albeit, mind you, like most of the traders, the women that you see in Abacha, all of those women are entrepreneurs in their own right. And those informal sector is what's actually keeping our economy afloat. So there's a huge role for women to be encouraged to take that risk to get into business.
Now, I asked this, taking into consideration, you own, 3 businesses. There's Pinnacle, there's BSI, there is Masada. Running 3 businesses in Sierra Leone, being able to fund it, raising capital, and being hands-on with the daily operation for a woman, how challenging
it's a bit exhausting.
Can that be?
Well, I have to say though, Pinnacle has faced that in the last 3 years or so. Again, Pinnacle being marketing, it takes a lot of creativity. So if you're gonna be doing a marketing company, you need to be 100% with it. Yeah. So I've not had that kind of time. So I've had to be fair to what I created, I had to release that and had to spend a lot more time on BSI and Masada. And even with Masada, thankfully, my partner, who's also my brother, he takes over the day-to-day management of that. Because in addition to all of this, I'm also the country manager for Africa Clean Energy, right? So that's really my full-time job. BSI, it's a structure that runs itself. Companies come, they set up, they do their own thing. Yes. I just provide a service and I have a staff that does that. Doesn't really require my time. What it requires is that the services that we've promised to our clients, that they get the service.
So how did you transition first from marketing, then to the business of waste management, and then graduated to renewable energy? How did you get it? Let's start with Masada. What informed your decision to go into waste management? You don't see a lot of women in this business.
No. And honestly, as much as I'd like to take the credit to say I sat here and said, you know what, sanitation is an issue, let me solve it. It wasn't my initiative. My younger brother, Jibril Wilson, who played football in America and won the Super Bowl, I remember him calling me. He was meeting with some businessman somewhere in Florida and wanted to turn waste, to renewable energy, and called me and said, Ami, let's see how we can bid for this waste management contract, because we can actually create impact and do renewable energy. Being the person that I am, I'm on ground, thought it was a great opportunity, so I ran with it. That's how I got into sanitation, but I didn't get into waste management for the sake of waste management. We got into waste management because of the energy components, right? So the renewable energy component. So that bit was taking a long time to come to fruition. So in the meantime, I found myself in the green energy space. I was the campaign director for Power for All for almost 3 years, which was a DFID funded campaign to advocate for renewable energy and solar systems in terms of helping with energy access. So the organization I work for now, COFI, is also a DFID funded program, and it's about the advancement of renewable energy for our poor and marginalized communities so that they can have access to electricity. So it's not far-fetched.
It's not far-fetched, but you seem to you seem to have gotten your teeth in renewable energy. How have you been able to get to that point?
So I think so with everything that I've been doing, I've actually found my sweet spot. And my sweet spot is renewable energy, because I think it embodies everything that I've been searching for in terms of my purpose, right? So with renewable energy, and energy for me, it's an enabler. You have electricity to the people can do so much more, right? So, and with our energy access rates being about 15% within Freetown and then 1% in our rural communities, there's a huge opportunity to make an impact. So I find that with advancing, SDG 7 and working on energy access initiatives, it just embodies my purpose as coming back home.
As a woman, playing in this field, how easy is it, especially in a society like Sierra Leone? Which is not different from any society, or entirely different from any society in Africa, that would always peg a woman's success to a man. And even we the women don't believe we can achieve XYZ if we don't have a man who can either push us, or a man who can either make the way, or a man who can either be behind. How are you able to move beyond that?
And again, I think it's important to see other women in the space, right? There are a handful of other women in the energy sector in Sierra Leone. The advantage, honestly, for me is that, especially with the global campaign that I worked for, I had a nexus of women that were working all over Africa. So I drew my strength and my knowledge from that base. But then when you're navigating the landscape, it's a bit different. So you have to really incorporate a whole lot of different skill sets. I mean, from obviously just being knowledgeable about the subject matter helps, right? Because I think, again, for me, when it comes to gender roles, it's being able to assert yourself and position yourself where you're respected. So I think I've been able to, obviously it's my opinion, right? It's up for, anyone can have their own opinion, but my opinion about myself in the energy space, and I've been in this space since 2012, is that I've garnered the knowledge, I understand the issues around energy access, and I've done my research on what can accelerate access to our people. So when you have that confidence of what you're talking about, at the end of the day, you can shatter the glass ceiling on gender issues. Yes, those issues will be there, but honestly, I don't wake up in the morning thinking, oh my goodness, I'm a woman in the sector and I'm gonna deal with challenges. I wake up in the morning, I have an impact that I need to make. There's a purpose that I'm living, and I wanna work with government. I'm here to support the ecosystem.
As you speak about impact and support, last year, right around November, December, there was this renewable energy conference that was, you were there, you launched it as well, together with Dr. Yum Kella, and even the president was there. What sort of impact will this sort of projects and conference have on the rural women. For me, that's the main importance, rural women and children.
Right. And again, so at that conference, it was the Manu River hearing on renewable energy and clean cooking, which was spearheaded by the Ministry of Energy and Dr. Kande Yumkela. And I had the opportunity as a country manager for Africa Clean Energy to launch the project there, or the program there. As much as the representation of the rural communities that was not there, but what you had were decision makers, what you had were lawmakers, right? So it was within the MRU, you had parliamentarians there, you had ministers. These people make decisions. So they take those decisions back to the grassroots. So they heard the cases, right? They heard the solutions that are available now with innovation in technology and affordability. I mean, as we're talking about solar systems, 5 years ago, you couldn't even think of buying a solar panel, right? But now, because of innovation in the technology, it's becoming more affordable, and it's an easier way than if we say, let's wait for Bumbuna phase 2 or the hydro or whatever grid connection. We're never gonna get there. So these are opportunities for us to leapfrog as a country. As small as we are, we have a lot of challenges, but we must be able to we must be seen to take advantages of technology. So having the president there for me showed commitment, right? So when you have leadership is showing commitment to the causes, ultimately it trickles down.
Okay, well, trickle down. Well, I'm gonna halt you there. We'll take a break. Coming up soon would be the video of the week. This is On the Spot with my guest, Aminata Dumbuya. Stay tuned.
More than half of the waste generated in Freetown is made up of organic waste, rotten food, excrement, and agricultural products.
We've never sought any garbage since before, from the household to the dumping sites.
Together with our partners and international organizations, we'll start to turn this waste into much needed energy. We will do this in small scale installations, the size of a couple of sea containers, that will transform organic waste into much needed resources and green energy.
We go to the slums and the market areas to get our patients. The reason for this is because our services are free, and we want to give the poorest and the most neediest of women the opportunity to come to us.
We've always known that there's value in food waste. It is now eminent, and it's now very visible to see that our food waste no longer needs to be landfill. That food waste can actually give us power, that food waste can actually give us cooking gas, that food waste can actually give us fertilizer and compost to power up our local agriculture, that food waste can help to create additional jobs for our youth, and that food waste can help us to have sanitary environments. So we turn our waste into energy, water, and compost that will power change and help feed our future.
We hope you're going to join our revolution and you too will become a waste transformer.
Okay, welcome back. This is Still on the Spot. If you are just tuning in, my guest is Aminata Dumbuya. All right, so I'm going to backtrack a little bit and just basically go through on the transition of Masada from Masada Waste Management. It went into some sort of a partnership right around in 2015 2015, you went into a partnership with a Dutch company, the Waste Transformer, to form a venture. I know you mentioned the whole idea of starting Masala was, the renewable aspect of it, but how did this partnership come about?
Again, because the initial idea was to turn waste to value. So we found this Dutch company that was doing their own proprietary technology. It's not a new technology, it's anaerobic digestion, but it's the way they deliver it, right? It's delivered in shipping containers. So it's a scalable model. You can start small and then go big. And we found that having something with such flexibility will be much more appropriate for our environment. So just in the new year, we finally realized our dream of bringing a waste to energy technology to Sierra Leone. So at the Aberdeen Women's Center, we've installed a system that takes about 600 kilograms of organic waste and converting it into not only electricity, but liquid fertilizer, compost, and or you can choose electricity or clean cooking gas. So it's an exciting time for us. Operations on that system will start first week February, and we hope to get all of the learnings. This again is the proof of concept for this for Sierra Leone. And once we feel safe that the proof of concept is checked off, we intend to do about 40 of those across the city. So it's a big.
What areas would be the priority areas for this project?
Well, we've identified on our feasibility study, but this specific pilot is at a hospital, right? So we all know the Aberdeen Women's Center. That's where women go to give birth, get their fistula issues solved. So for us, the direct impact that we're creating by giving them electricity supply. In fact, we're going to give them electricity for 3 months for free. So it's really exciting. Once, again, we get that proof of concept, as much as we've identified areas in the feasibility study where, we can shift to doing just all hospitals or wherever there's a need. So that's still to be determined.
Okay. Yeah. Now, aside from that, in 2018, Masava won the West African Forum for Climate and Clean Energy Financing, and this was out of about 250 applicants, and you and your company emerged winners. So take us through on this competition, and what was the prize?
So what happens in this space is that there are a lot of different calls for proposals or competitions just to kind of see, the impact that different projects can make, right? So the West Africa Clean Climate competition organized by a company called Private Finance and Advisory Network and the African Development Bank, the idea was to gather projects within the ECOWAS region, put them in front of investors, let them pitch. So it was like a Shark Tank competition. So we went through, got shortlisted to the final 50, to the final 15, and then the final 10 were the ones presenting April 2018 at the AFDB. So we presented our solution, which is a waste to energy and the 40 networked anaerobic digestion or installations or waste transformers within Freetown. Because of the impact that we will make once the full project is completed, because of the business viability of it in terms of you getting your money back if you're an investor, we're so much so that we won the competition. But what does that mean when you win the competition? It's not that they give you the physical cash and say, now go and implement your project. That's what a lot of people thought. What they did do, however, was to give us technical assistance to fine-tune our business plan even further and put us in front of more and more investors. So what that will do now, once this proof of concept, we go through the 3 months phase, we can now go back to the investors and say, oh, by the way, we've installed the first one and it's a success. So now let's roll on with the next 39.
So especially in terms of the waste management area and the transforming that waste to renewable energy, how does this create business opportunities for for women, for young people? What's the business idea that supports other businesses or emerging businesses in Sierra Leone?
When this project is rolled out fully, we intend that the impact it will have, especially creating jobs for young adults, right, through the waste collection businesses. So there are youth groups in various communities that collect waste. We will support those ecosystems because now they know where they're taking that waste. In terms of if we decide to do retailing of the fertilizer, there are opportunities there. We could just decide that we want one off-taker and they buy everything, right? So again, that's yet to still be defined, and we will find out all of that once we fully get the proof of concept right and decide the way to go. But rest assured, we'll let Sierra Leone know.
So you are a member of the Renewable Energy Association of Sierra Leone. How does this, your association and you being a member, how does it push the conversation on a national level for Sierra Leone to really embrace renewable energy on a more national scale?
As much as I'm an operator on the Masada end of things, I'm also a facilitator on the A side of things. So what we do, what I've done under Power for All and now doing with ACE, is to make the renewable energy RIAZO, Association of Sierra Leone, be fully capacitated. Because their goal now is to really help policy formation. It's for them to go in front of government and say, look, we're a group of private sector. We want to get in this space. We want to be able to distribute, more solar lanterns, or we want to advance renewable energy. However, for that to happen effectively and efficiently, we need government to give us some this, that, this, to look at this. So that association helps to drive the conversation forward, right? And they basically are holding hands with the public sector government and say, we want to work with you to accelerate energy access.
I'm going to ask a really funny question here. Does it impact government negatively if we have more communities, accessing renewable energy that is powering their communities? I asked this question taking into consideration ETSA and Ministry of Energy and how we generate our own energy internally, and also taking into consideration cow power sheep as well. Is it a negative impact when you think about how government generates revenue from that area if they decide to go all renewable energy?
It's a very good question, very good observation, but I'm actually going to turn that around and ask you a question. As a citizen, do you feel like you're getting value for money with ETSA right now?
As a citizen, do you feel you're getting value for money from ETSA? Back to you.
Well, and so actually, I think renewable energy is actually a huge complementary asset to government, because imagine for all these decades, we've not even been able to expand the grid. I mean, when you look at the statistics, our rural electrification rates are so low. Only 1% to 3% of our rural people have access to electricity. Sure. So because they don't have that, guess what they do? They use kerosene lamps, which are very, very dangerous for them. They burn like Chinese torches, and they're spending a whole lot of money on buying just those batteries, right? Just so they can have lighting. So for me, I don't think it's not competition. It's actually very much complementary to ETSA and the government. And the government wants this, right? So you need to have a diverse energy mix.
Okay. So I don't mind me. I just had to ask that question because it's something that's, because you keep wondering why as a nation we haven't seemed to gotten this energy issue problem right. We haven't gotten it right.
It's really expensive for government. And the more you have, private sector companies coming in and distributing decentralized electrification, the quicker, right, that people will have access, that people will have better livelihoods, because now kids can study much longer. You understand? You can do so much more. So it's definitely not a competition. It's very much complementary.
So I know that of course, Freetown City Council is all about this whole transform Freetown, and you really can't transform Freetown if you don't pay attention to the waste management system, and you don't pay attention to how waste is being gathered and disposed. So how does Masada work with Freetown City Council in actually actualizing this whole Transform Freetown initiative?
The good thing is really the mayor, she's so prioritized sanitation. She's so hands-on, right? One of the key challenges that faces the waste management sector is enforcement of the bylaws. And what she's done is liberalize the sector and allow for private companies to come in and provide services in various areas. In fact, she launched an app that, within your ward or constituency, you can find, find me in Freetown. You can find your waste management company there. So she's really, taking the bull by the horn and using technology to innovate how we do things. So I think with that, it's getting a lot better. We can visibly see that sanitation or waste management issues are not as choking as they were. And also coupled with that, as much as, initially when the monthly cleaning exercise started, I thought, oh my gosh, this is not good. It's going to reverse everything, because what people will do now, instead of getting a waste management company, they'll hold on to their waste for a whole month and wait for it to be collected. So
the council is actually raised.
Yeah, so it's counterproductive. But one thing that does though is it shows commitment from central government that they want to prioritize sanitation. I don't know if that's the way to go about it, right? Because at the end of the day, government, you should just be about policy and enforcement, and then allow for private sector to organically build a market. But if you just come and give freebies, then you're being counterproductive. So I really think they should look at that. It's been going on for a year, almost 2 years now. And I think there are better ways for government to spend its monies than saying once a month we're gonna clean. That's just I might be getting political here or whatever, but this is, as a private sector in the space, I feel like it could be counterproductive.
So basically, government has to give more of that duty to the local governments, the local council, and the private sector as well, basically.
Exactly. Just create the enabling environment, have the framework that structures things out. So where there are low income communities where they can't afford, who'd want to spend $60,000 for your waste to be collected when you could buy rice? Right? True. So government needs to look at different subsidies and, how they break down the various segments. So there's so much that can be done, but I don't think, paying for people's waste management is the best use of government funds.
All right. Well, that's my guest there, Aminata. That's my guest there, Aminata Dumbuya. We'll take a break and we'll be back.
Domestic revenue mobilization is a key instrument for the government of Sierra Leone in reducing poverty, increasing financial independence, achieving middle-income status, and charting the path for new directions. From supporting the free quality education, good roads, healthcare, electricity, and more.
Domestic revenue mobilization is very critical when it comes to national development.
Through the Asikoda World, we have developed beautiful management tools. We have also developed systems in which it will bring transparency and help to the importer, to the broker.
iTax is a platform for all your domestic taxes. The electronic cash register system is the game changer.
Let's support government by paying our taxes. For more information, visit the nearest NRA office or log on to our website www.nra.gov.sl.
Setting up a business can be a headache, finding office space, buying furniture, printers and photocopiers, but if you're not ready for all that, BSI can help. BSI provides furnished and serviced office spaces for the short or medium term, whether it's for a day meeting, a conference, or an immediate office rental for a few months. There are no long-term cost commitments, and the offices are fully equipped with all your office needs. Or we can simply provide you with a prestigious business address thanks to one of our virtual offices. Find out more about BSI, your office away from the office. Go to bsisl.com or call 076 242 328.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Abu. I am calling for your rental tax payment.
Oh my goodness.
Hello? This is a call from the
Your colleague is on the other line. Can you just please hold?
You are a landlord or property agent? You don't hear about rental income tax? As property owner or agent where they collect rent, the law say you for pay tax and are you tax identification number where they call team you they use for pay am.
Yes, me famble them. The law say without this tax identification number, you no go able pay your tax. And if you not pay your tax, the law go bet you tranga one. Welcome, sir. Please sit.
Thank you.
We don't make them easy for you now. The law say, since you the collect rent we pass 7.2 million leons, you for come to NIA and pay your rental tax just after we you tenants don't pay you done.
So no more calls from everywhere.
You go just get one SMS or one phone call. We go remind you, sir.
Thank you very much.
For no more, go to any NIA office near you or visit www.nia.gov.sl.
Remember, paying taxes is required by law.
Welcome back. This is On the Spot with me, Stella, and I still have my guest here, Aminata Dumbuya. So we've spoken a little bit about your, corporate and business and basically how you've been able to move forward with that. Let's now turn it down a little bit to you on a personal level. Now, you've got two amazing kids. How are you juggling private life and all this businesses that you're running? How are you finding the balance?
Wow. So you're right. I have two beautiful daughters. I have a 19-year-old and a 5-year-old. And the 19-year-old was here with me at a very young age. And then when Ebola struck, I sent her back to the States to study. So she's at university now, second year at UC Berkeley. Yes. And so in a way,
she's also the president.
Yes, of HABA, which is the Haas Undergraduate Black Business Association.
That's
so
a big one.
yeah, Haas is the business school in Berkeley. So that's big. It's a big deal.
So she took after her mom.
I would like to think so. So anyhow, so she's there, and honestly, she's been the best daughter anyone can ask for. She's made it so easy for me to raise her. The baby that's here with me, she's just coming up, so she's also not putting too much stress. She's 5. She just turned 5 in December. Not stressing my life. And the amazing thing that I've experienced, raising children in Sierra Leone, is that you can also afford for assistance. You can get like live-in nannies. So it literally takes a village, right? So I have 2 amazing nannies that are part of my support system. My mother is also around. I have friends around. So it's been very helpful.
You are an example. How did you get that strength to trudge on? Look at where you've come. Look at how far you've come. Look at what you've accomplished as a woman. How were you able to do it? For someone out there, any young lady out there who's listening right now and trying to figure out, how do I get on my feet? How do I make this happen? How do I become as great or greater than Aminata? How do you go about it?
Honestly, I don't necessarily think there's a specific formula, but I've also had the opportunity of being raised by my mother, who, as much as, like I mentioned earlier, she hadn't gone to get a degree, so I didn't have her to look up to in that regard. But she embodied some character traits, right, that helped me. Like, I had her as a role model. She's a woman of integrity, hard worker, you understand? She's the head of her household, so I had that to model around. And also, I think just being real with yourself and being authentic. Like, there are things that, you know, my life may seem boring. I mean, I wake up every day and I come to the office and I network and I go home, I play tennis if I can, I go run on the beach, I come back, I do it over and over. But guess what? Every single day I have a goal that I want to achieve, right? So in fact, every year I revisit my goals. So I have plans, 5-year plans, 1 year, and then trickles down to monthly and all of that. So I have a vision of where I want to go. Obviously, at the end of the day, you know, other things happen, right? You don't own yourself 100%. There's spiritual forces, there are other things, but you can't control what you do on a given basis. So for me, that's where I draw my strength. I know I have a goal. I have 2 daughters that I need to provide for, and I want to make an impact.
Wonderful. Well, so let me just rephrase for young people out there who are thinking of starting businesses, or someone who already is in business, but is having challenges in accessing funds or capital. What would you advise, especially for someone who wants to start today? There's always a saying, you know, you don't necessarily need a capital to start a business. You know, that's quite questionable as well. But what would you advise someone today who's watching and thinking, I want to take a bold step forward?
Yeah. So the red carpet's not going to be laid out for you. You're not going to all of a sudden have this bright idea and then people are going to throw themselves at you. You're going to have money. It's never like that, right? But what is important, and you know, I'm a spiritual person. My spirituality plays a big role into my outlook in life. I really believe if you have a plan, the universe will connect you with the right elements. So it's only that you get up and you say, I'm gonna do this. Right. Like, there's so many things that have happened in my life, and I remember I used to think, oh, it's a coincidence. No. Coincidences don't happen. So as long as you make that initial step towards your life path, you understand, everything will fall in place. All you need to do is just start. It takes a lot of hard work, determination. Sometimes you start and, you know, it just doesn't work out. The energy's not right, right? Maybe it's a pushback from the universe to ask, are you sure this is what you want, right? Because sometimes the things that we perceive as failure, those are things that are there to test us, to test our resolve. Yes. So for me, if you actually really, really believe that what you're about to do is something that's really within your destiny, your path, your life, your being, regardless of the challenges that are thrown at you, you will get back up.
Okay. Thank you. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on the show.
I just want to say thank you to you, Stella. I think this is a great platform. I think what you're doing, like I mentioned very early on in the conversation, television is so powerful because the content, the images that we put out there is what really raises the consciousness of our communities. And so I thank you for just taking the time to sit with me. I don't remember the last time I actually talked about myself. So you actually really did your homework and got me digging in deep to, reminisce. So thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you too for coming. This is On the Spot. Well, coming up next are my final words. In my final words, it has been a great conversation, getting to know a little bit about this amazing woman, Aminata Dumbuya. Well, her story reminds us all that we are only as great as we think we are and also ready to work for. Our success cannot be tied to or be determined by a man. We must be ready to move and think out of the box. I'm thrilled to see a formidable woman taking the lead in renewable energy and waste management. So what are you willing to take the lead in? Know that it is in the not so cool things that may hold the key to your financial breakthrough. Thank you for watching tonight's episode. Share your thoughts on the show on our Facebook page and do connect with us on our various social media handles as well as our website www.onthespotwithstella.com. I'll be back next week, but till then, stay fabulous.